Hi guys, hi, welcome. So this is we're carrying on with our advanced variances, and this is advanced variance with carry on with mix and yield with waste. But before I carry on, when I discussed in the last video, if you go in, when I was talking about yield, I highlighted a lot that yield was about output. I mean, it is about output, and we talked very much about whether or not the kilograms that we were dealing with had yielded what we expected it in terms of output to yield. So I think in this scenario you had 25,000 kilograms, and the question was that how many units were we expecting it to yield? And if you remember in the last video, we were expecting it to yield 20,833 units, and we were able to compare that with the actual number of units, and we found the difference was 167 units, and we said therefore, well, if you have 167 units, therefore that's favorable because you've done better than we expected, and we could then cost this based on this standard costing. If you remember, we said that basically if this was a batch of 1,000 units, we could work out what the cost of 1,000 units were, and therefore, and I think it came to 1776. And if that was the cost of it, which was multiplying this times this, and this times this, and this times this, and then we could therefore work out the cost of one unit, and therefore multiply this basically this divided by this is 1.76, isn't it? So, well, 1.77. So multiplying this by this came to about 297. Now there's another way of doing this, and this is really when you're asked to look at the yield variance based on sort of input, if you like, from an input perspective. And that's not an impossible way to look at it. It's probably, some people might actually see that as probably a clear way for them. So, but remember, what I've done here is to get these 167 units, and then you can see from here I started from talking about 25,000, so total, whether or not it yielded this. And then I was comparing it, I was using the standards to do this. So really the argument here is when we're looking at yield, we fix mix, if that makes any sense. We keep mix standard. We've dealt with the mix variance. We know what's going on there. And we're really interested in output now. So we don't actually use the actual figures here. We're just interested in the mix, in the standard mix. And, well, we're interested in the output given the standard mix. That's kind of the issue here. The focus is on output and hence not mix. So what does that mean for if we're looking at it backwards? So the argument here is that you would have expected, the plan was that you expected these items, these inputs to yield 1,000 units, and therefore to yield 21,000 units you would have expected pretty much this whole thing times, well, if a batch is 1,000 for 21 batches, I'm basically multiplying this by 21, right? All through. And that's in terms of input, that's the kind of input I would have been expecting. So let's do it. So what am I saying? So if you like, call it expected input. So that was 600 times 21. And that was 240 times 21. And that was 360 times 21. I say 21 because it's, of course, 1,000 units. And I'm trying to get to 21,000 units. All I have to do is multiply by 21, right? And I'm there. Okay, so 600 times 21. Let me just do that very quickly. 600 times 21 is 12,600. 240 times 21 is 5040. 360 times 21 is 7560. So therefore, 12,600 plus 5040, 12,600 plus 5040 plus 7560 is 25,200. So from an input point of view, I would have expected this to make your 21,000 units. Now, I can see clearly what you did use, but again, the question here, what I must do is that, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Right, yes, here we are. What I must do, what I now must do is that I know you used 20, again, like I say, because I'm interested in the output, you use 25,000. So I do this at the standard mix. It's a standard mix of what you actually, the full amount that you used, not the actual combination, but the standard mix. And the standard mix, if you remember, the mix is 600 to 240 to 320, A, B, and C. So when I do that standard mix, this will be 12,500. This will be 5,000. And this will be 7,500. How do I know that? This is 1,200. This is 50%. The mix is 50% to 20% to 30%. That's the mix. So this is my situation now. That's that compared to that. So this is what I would have expected you to do, and this is what you did in terms of what you actually input. Your actual input was 25,000. And I was expecting you to put in 25,200. So it's really from this point of view. This is the point of view we're talking. This is what we're talking about. This is our focus here, really, the bottom. So in terms of the variance, and you can see this wouldn't have mattered, because even if you had done 200, you would come back here and split it according to the split, this 50, 20, 30. I'm just doing it here. So here we have 100. Here we have 40. And here we have 60. So here you did 12,500 instead of 12,600. So this is well, they're all favorable, 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 and that's your 200 favorable variance. And so I cost this. I know that I'm told that if you look at the question, if you go back, and again, you should have your textbook here, looking at this, that you did this at £1.10, and this was at £2.40. And this was £1.40. So when you now do all of this, so let's do it. 100 times 110. 100 times £1.10 is 1,110. I'm just going to do that over here. 110. 40 times £2.40 is 96. 60 times £1.40 is 84. £84 plus 96 plus 110 is 290. Why do I have 290? That's a bit odd. Sorry, not £1.40, £1.50. This is £1.50. Sorry. So 60 times £1.50. And that's 90. So this is 90. So this comes to about 296. And if you look at the old way, I just did it a few seconds ago, I had 297. So those are the two ways I almost need you to work to understand, to work this out. Because when we now go in to discuss mix and yield with waste, we now kind of I'm going to do both methods again, and it's just practicing and getting comfortable. I think it's just knowing exactly what it is you're doing, and then you realize that they're really the same thing. It's just two ways of looking at it. Okay, great. So if I like keeping the videos short, so we'll leave this one, and then in the next video we'll start with mix and yield with waste officially, if you like.